Alright, JPG Hoops here. I'm about to end this whole WNBA to NBA wage gap issue right here, right now. I'm going to provide you first. If I give you the obvious facts, it's going to sound like I'm being gender biased or I'm being sexist. So I'm gonna hit you with straight numbers. So if you never heard about this, you got Skylar Diggins-Smith. She's an all-star in WNBA, one of the best players in WNBA. So she's talking about how the league must rectify issues such as WNBA players only getting 20% of the league's revenue compared to that approximately 50% of the NBA, compared to the approximately 50% of the revenue that the NBA players receive. I met a loss for words talking about this. It's like the men make more money for the same amount of work or even less work. Okay, on Twitter. 154 million. She's talking about LeBron did. 154 million. Must be nice. We're over here looking for an M. But Lord, let me get back in my lane. Alright. Let's talk about revenue sharing for a little bit. Of course, you know the revenue that these leagues make are based on TV contracts, endorsements, merchandise, ticket sales, jersey sales, all these other type of sponsorships and all this. You got to think about how much money the NBA players generate for their own teams and for the league. The NBA depends on LeBron to generate them money. The NBA depends on the Warriors to generate them money. The NBA depends on the superstars that are in the NBA to generate the money. The NBA, obviously, if they're generating a lot more money for the NBA, they're going to give more to the players since they're making them more money. You feel me? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. And the reason that WNBA players do not get a larger amount of the league revenue is because the teams that are in the WNBA are still losing money. None of these teams are making a profit. So let's say you're working for me, right? You're working for me, you're working in my company. How can you ask me for a raise when the company is in the red financially every single year, but you're asking me for a raise? How can I give you something that I barely have? You feel me? Like, that's what I'm saying. That makes no sense. You can't ask for something if the league's not making money. There's no money coming in at all. So how can you ask for more money if the money's not coming in? All right, so we're going to go to another article. We're going to talk about profit, okay? Profit. You know, profit, how much money do these teams make? I know I went right to this episode. Half of the WNBA's 12 teams lose money, and they benefit from revenue generated by the NBA's national television and sponsorship deals. So the WNBA is being sponsored and backed by the NBA. So the NBA is the one that's really giving you the money, not the WNBA. It's the NBA is giving you your money. The WNBA only has 12 markets. You only have 12 markets. You only have 12 teams in 12 markets. And most of your teams are not in great market cities. Like Oklahoma City and Tulsa is not a big market. You have the Connecticut Sun, which is not a huge market. You got do they have any teams in Florida? No. Do they have any teams in they have one team in Texas, the Dallas Wings, which was the Tulsa Shock, which was the Detroit Shock. And you moved so many. I'm gonna give you all the franchises that the WNBA has lost ever since. I'm gonna give you. All right. The Charlotte Sting, Cleveland Rockers, the Detroit Shock, which were 3-time WNBA champions, the Houston Comets, who won the first 4 NBA championships, and at the start of the WNBA, they won the first 4 championships. The Miami Soul, the Orlando Miracle, the Portland Fire, the Sacramento Monarch, the San Antonio Silver Stars, the Tulsa Shock, and the Utah Stars. How can you even beg for more money when these owners can't even keep their teams up? They can't even keep their teams sustained. They can't even sustain their teams. They can't even keep their teams going for a certain amount of time. Oh wait. ESPN pays $25 million from ESPN. ESPN pays WNBA $25 million compared to the NBA, which gets an average of $930 million from ESPN and Turner Sports TNT combined, which will rise up to $2.6 billion. The NBA makes a lot of money. That's why these sports networks give them a lot of money to broadcast their stuff on the networks. The WNBA is not bringing in a lot of money. Obviously, you're not going to give them a lot of money obviously, you're not going to put a lot of money into broadcasting your things, your product. All right, look, and look at this. In a rare and candid moment, James Dolan, who owns the WNBA's Liberty and the New York Knicks, told HBO's Real Sports that he was close to handing the franchise back to the league in 2015. This was 3 years ago. It hasn't made money, he says. Its prospects of making money at that time and even today are very slim. Yeah. Okay, so we're just gonna talk about. Okay, that was from the that's from the profit perspective. That's from profit. This is just profit. First, now we're gonna talk about attendance as we go into this. The WNBA has a fundamental problem. It needs more fans. Lots of them. Attendance fell to an average of 7,318 a game last season, almost two decades after reaching its peak of 10,864 in 1998, the league's second season. And these big arenas only sell the lower level tickets because they know a lot of people. You're gonna sell 15,000 tickets for a game when only 7,000 people are gonna come. No. The NBA averages 17,864 fans per game. So more than twice of this number and almost double this. And these WNBA teams often borrow college arenas to play their college games in. Just like the Atlanta Dream, they borrowed the Georgia Tech arena. And the Washington Mystics, they borrowed the George Washington University's arena, the college arena. You feel me? Like, if you can't, these WNBA teams can't even afford their own arenas to play in. Just like when the Nets were moving to Brooklyn, they built the Barclays Center just for the Brooklyn Nets to play in. I mean, even though they're hosting other events, but still, they built that arena just for the Nets. And they think a while ago they made a $1 billion renovation to Madison Square Garden, like 3 or 4 years ago. They made $1 billion renovation because they have money like that to do that. All right, so we're going to talk about salary. We're going to talk about salary. All right, so the maximum salary in the Women's National Basketball Association is $109,500. Okay, and also most of these WNBA players, they will go overseas to Russia or China and play in other leagues, and they can earn up to $1 million and more. That's why most of them are playing overseas in the off season because they can't make no money in the league. But I'm gonna show you this crazy. These are some of the NBA salaries for 2018-19. Look at the lowest paid players in the NBA. Brad Wanamaker. Who is that? Alize Johnson, I know who that is. Kyrie Thomas, I know who that is. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You got 9 players that's probably gonna spend most of their rookie seasons in the G League, and they're still making almost $1 million. They're making 8 times more than the WNBA player makes. Because, like I said, these markets are big, and these teams have the money. These WNBA teams don't have the money to give the players because nobody is watching the league. Therefore, you can't talk about nobody's watching it. And then they're trying to make an excuse talking about how it's how the WNBA doesn't get a lot of media exposure, yada yada yada. Like, No, that's ludicrous. Look at this. I checked WNBA Twitter, I think yesterday. It has 562,000 followers. Look at the NBA, NBA Twitter. NBA. 27.3 million followers. WNBA Instagram has 554,000 followers. And look how crazy this is. NBA G. The NBA G League has 507,000. You barely have more followers than the NBA G League. And look at the NBA. Look at the regular NBA. $31 million. You can't tell me that you don't have any media exposure when you've been, the WNBA has been on ABC, has been on ESPN, has been on ESPN2, has been on NBA TV, and they had a whole commercial backing y'all up. They had a whole commercial about the WNBA. It was like the WNBA. They had NBA stars supporting you.
The game puts it on.
They make the game extremely exciting to watch. Why do I watch them work?
You have got to be kidding me.
2 words: sick handles. Nasty.
Exactly. Come on, you can't say anything about lack of exposure. You have NBA All-Stars supporting your brand. You have NBA All-Stars advertising your product. If you didn't know, the NBA had a deal with Lifetime, the channels Lifetime and Oxygen in the early years of WNBA. They had it broadcast on Lifetime and Oxygen, which are networks geared towards women. But the president of Lifetime at the time, her name was Carol Black. She cut WNBA from Lifetime because the household rating was well below what the other shows was. And she's a woman, and she cut that because it didn't get enough household rating or viewership or whatever. And WNBA was on NBC. Stop saying there's no such thing as lack of exposure for the NBA. NBA is on NBC. The WNBA is backed by the NBA. Backed by the NBA. Supported by the NBA. It's financially supported by the NBA. You can't say anything about that. You can't. You really can't. You really can't. All right. Now that I hit you, hold on. I gotta give you. And here's the thing. Let me show you. Now, how can you expect little kids to look up to this league when you got players who are being bullied for being straight? They're bullied for being straight. I don't get that. This is comments from a WNBA player. This is not from me. This is from a WNBA player. Look. I'm gonna read this. She now claims she was bullied throughout her career for being heterosexual. Me being heterosexual and straight and being vocal in my identity as a straight woman was huge. I would say 98% of the women in the NBA are gay women. It was a conformist type of place. It was a whole different set of rules the other players could apply. There was such a jealousy. There was a lot of jealousy and competition. We're all fighting for crumbs. The way I looked, the way I played, those things contributed to the tension. People were deliberately trying to hurt me all the time. I've never been called the B word so many times in my life than I was in my rookie season. I've never been thrown to the ground so much. The message was, we want you to know we don't like you. And this is not even just about the lesbian issue and all that stuff. Look, even she says, nobody cares about WNBA. Viewership is minimal. Ticket sales are very low. They give away tickets, and people don't come to the game. Comparing her struggle with stateside with her incredible experience playing in Europe, where salaries for women's basketball players are much higher. Okay. Now that I've given you the numbers and I've given you all the stats, I'm going to give you some physical differences. The obvious difference is, obviously, men are more capable of jumping higher and running faster and shooting from far, shooting from distance farther and all this stuff. Even though there have only been 7 dunkers in NBA history, can you name all of them? I'm sure you probably can't. You probably name a few. Lisa Leslie, Michelle Snow, Sylvia Fowles, Candace Parker, John Claude Jones, Brittany Griner, and Liz Campion. And then, when you have players such as Spud Webb dunking, and players such as Nate Robinson, the shorter players, it adds more flair. Because, like, wow, he jumped really high. And if these WNBA players want to get respected as men, how about you extend your season to 82 games? How about you increase the size of the game ball? How about you push the three-point line back? How about you play 48 minutes instead of 4 10-minute quarters? How about you do that? Like, make it like the men, so you can say you play like the men, and then you get paid like a man. Like I said, I'm not trying to be sexist, even though it sounds really sexist. Not. I think the most important thing about this is the reason why WNBA is not as popular as NBA, because the WNBA does not have a storyline to sell the fans. Does not have a big storyline. Like look at how the NBA was in the 80s. You got Magic and Bird. Then you got Jordan versus the whole NBA. Then you have LeBron versus the whole NBA. Then you have the Kobe and Shaq. Then you have Warriors Dynasty. Then you have all these young rookies coming up. There's no big storyline in the WNBA to sell to the fans, because the NBA depends on the players to sell the product. You feel me? Like, the NBA depends on LeBron going to the Lakers. Oh, LeBron going to the Lakers. That's a huge storyline for the NBA. That's going to draw people. That's going to draw attention to the NBA. The WNBA has to find a way to get more entertaining. And I watch WNBA games all the time. But the WNBA has to find a way to get more entertaining, to get more appealing to viewers, so more people can watch. That's my whole thing on the issue. If I offended anyone, I apologize in advance. But anyway, thanks again for watching JPZ Hoops. If you like, if you enjoyed, subscribe. If you're new, anyway. Thanks again for watching. I'm out. Peace.